Ava Martinez had never imagined her teenage years would look like this, balancing school, 2 part-time jobs, and managing most of the household chores while her stepmother, Karen, lounged on the couch scrolling through her phone. After Ava's dad passed away from a sudden heart attack, life in their small Arizona town became harder than ever. Karen had married Ava's father only a year before his death, and although she pretended to care at first, the moment he was gone, she changed completely. Ava now worked endlessly to help cover bills and keep the home together, because nobody else would. Every morning began the same way. Ava woke up at 5 a.m., quietly cooked breakfast, and packed her stepbrother Jason's lunch for school. Karen never woke before 10 a.m., leaving Ava to get Jason ready and walk him to the bus stop. After that, she rode her old bicycle to a local diner, where she worked the morning shift. The manager appreciated her, but Karen criticized everything Ava did. If Karen saw Ava resting for even a moment, she accused her of slacking and using her as charity, even though Ava was the one paying most of the rent and utilities. Despite the heavy responsibilities, Ava remained kind. She loved Jason as if he were her true brother, and she often shielded him from Karen's angry moods. But some days, the pressure felt unbearable. Her bike needed repairs, but she couldn't afford them. Worse, her father's old wheelchair, used for her grandma when she visited, had been damaged during a move. Ava wanted it fixed before her grandma's next trip, but Karen insisted it wasn't important and refused to help. So Ava brought it herself to Mike's repair garage, where she hoped someone could fix it cheaply. The garage smelled like motor oil and steel, and the sound of tools clinking echoed throughout. A tall, bearded man in his late 40s approached her. His name was Mike, the owner, known around town as a skilled mechanic with a big heart. Ava explained the problem while nervously clutching the handles of the old wheelchair. Mike inspected it carefully, noticing how worn the wheels were and how loose the brakes had become. When Ava asked how much the repair would cost, she braced herself, expecting a number far beyond her budget. Instead, Mike looked up with gentle eyes and said, "I'll fix it for free." Ava froze, unsure if she'd heard correctly. She immediately insisted she would pay somehow, but Mike shook his head. "Your father was a regular customer here for years. He once told me you were the toughest kid he knew. Let me do this for him, and for you." Tears welled in Ava's eyes. It was the first kindness she'd received from an adult in months. She left the wheelchair and promised to return in 2 days, feeling strangely hopeful as she exited the garage. When Ava returned home with a small smile on her face, Karen immediately questioned her. She demanded to know where Ava had been and why she hadn't washed the dishes yet. When Ava mentioned taking the wheelchair for repairs, Karen rolled her eyes and accused her of wasting time and money on useless things. Ava tried to stay calm, but inside, frustration grew. She cleaned the house, helped Jason with homework, and cooked dinner while Karen complained loudly to her friends on the phone. By the time Ava finally crawled into bed, exhaustion washed over her like a heavy wave. 2 days later, Ava returned to the garage. Mike greeted her warmly and wheeled out the chair, but it didn't look like the same one. It was polished, reinforced, and had brand new wheels that glided smoothly. But the real surprise was what he'd added, a small engraved metal plate attached to the backrest. It read, "For the Martinez family, strength runs in your blood." Ava covered her mouth in shock as tears spilled freely. Mike explained that he wanted her grandmother to feel safe and respected, and he wanted Ava to remember she wasn't alone. Ava hugged him tightly, overwhelmed by gratitude. When she brought the wheelchair home, Karen barely glanced at it. Instead, she accused Ava of exaggerating and said no mechanic would fix something like that for free. She even suggested Ava must have lied or begged for sympathy. Her words pierced Ava's heart. That night, as she quietly folded laundry, Ava made a promise to herself: she would not allow Karen's cruelty to define her future. She would work hard, save money, and build a life where she didn't have to depend on someone who treated her with such disrespect. She just needed time and courage to make the first step. The opportunity came sooner than expected. A week later, the diner owner, Mrs. Thompson, pulled Ava aside. She told Ava that a customer, a woman who had seen Ava help seniors carry their plates and treat everyone with kindness, had recommended her for a scholarship program for hardworking teens facing hardship. The scholarship covered tuition, housing, and even provided a monthly stipend. Ava felt her heart race. It sounded unreal. Mrs. Thompson urged her to apply, saying she deserved a chance to live her own life. That night, after Karen fell asleep, Ava filled out the application with trembling hands. 2 months passed without any updates. During that time, Karen's treatment only worsened. She constantly insulted Ava, took her earnings, and blamed her for anything that went wrong. But Ava stayed patient, holding on to a quiet hope. Then, one morning, an envelope arrived addressed to her. She carefully opened it, and gasped. She had been officially accepted into the scholarship program. Tears streamed down her face as she read the letter over and over. She packed her belongings discreetly, unsure how Karen would react. When she walked into the living room with her bags, Karen stared in disbelief. Karen demanded to know where Ava thought she was going and accused her of abandoning the family. But Ava finally found her voice. She explained the scholarship, how she had earned it, and how she deserved a chance at a future. Karen scoffed, insisting Ava was lying. But when Ava showed her the official letter, the stepmother's expression shifted from anger to pure shock. Jason ran up and hugged Ava tightly, begging her to visit often. She promised she would. With a deep breath and newfound confidence, Ava stepped out the front door, leaving behind years of struggle. Moving into the dorms felt surreal. For the first time in a long time, Ava didn't wake to shouting or endless chores. Instead, she met people who encouraged her dreams, professors who admired her intelligence, and counselors who helped her navigate adulthood. She studied business management, determined to someday open a community center for struggling teens. She emailed Mike to thank him once more, telling him about her scholarship. He replied proudly, calling her the strongest Martinez he'd ever met. His small act of kindness had sparked a transformation she would never forget. 4 years later, Ava graduated with honors. She returned to her hometown briefly, not to stay, but to visit those who had helped her when she felt most alone. She brought her grandmother in the restored wheelchair, now shining and still sturdy, to meet Mike at the garage. The older man hugged her warmly, shocked at how far she had come. Karen also saw Ava again, but this time, she didn't have the power to control her. She acted overly polite, sensing Ava's success. But Ava no longer needed her approval. She only cared about the people who had truly supported her. Ava eventually moved to Denver, where she opened her youth center, offering mentorship, job training, emotional support, and even free meals for teens facing difficult home situations. She hung a framed picture of her father on the wall, along with the engraved metal plate from the wheelchair, as a reminder of her journey. Her story spread throughout the community, inspiring many who thought hardship was a dead end. Ava proved it wasn't. She showed that compassion from strangers could change the course of someone's life, and that resilience could transform pain into purpose. Her future was no longer defined by struggle but by strength.